Yo, appreciate you guys for continuing to support us. Every social media platform, YouTube, Spotify. Remember to click below, subscribe, leave a comment below, let us know what you think. We're gonna continue this conversation, part two. How important is voting? Easy question. We're gonna continue the conversation. And if you haven't watched part one, it's on this link below. Holla at your boys. Miz on me, Miz on me.
Yeah, man, we're gonna continue this topic conversation. Basically, what do the Republican and Democrat Party have to do to get the black man, or black people overall to get out and go vote, man. And you want to start it second part off, Matt or Teddy?
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
No. Mac, you were saying earlier that your confidence in voting is low, so I definitely want to hear your point.
Yeah, my confidence in voting is very low. I voted for Obama back in 2012. You know what I mean? I bought into all the hope and change and all the BS he was spitting at us. You know what I mean? Like if you go back and look at the records of both Democrats and Republicans, whoever was in office, we've been getting fucked pretty hard. Like if you look at the things that Obama did and what he promised us and what he actually did, he basically was basically a Republican. If you really think about it, all the wars, we went from being in 2 wars to having 7 wars under Obama. He kicked people out of their housing after the first recession. All the things he did with Syria, he tried to start a war with Syria. He never closed Guantanamo. All the black people who were lynched under his watch with Democratic AG Attorney General, and nothing was done. He pretended like he had his hand tied, but like he could have helped black people, in a major way. You know what I mean? But like he chose to do nothing. He could have, with a stroke of a pen, he could have helped so many people out. He went to Flint, Michigan. Instead of helping the people in Flint, he pretended to drink the lead water, and then he got on a plane and left. And Flint is still fucked, and no one's helping them out at all. The countless wars, for example, Trump's taxes were just revealed, right? Last week. Last week was a crazy week. His taxes were revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you have to ask yourself, why is the tax code the way it is? The Democrats were in power. They had a super majority in the House and the Senate, and they had the presidency. They never reformed the tax code. Trump paid $750 because the reason is because the tax code was set up by both Republican and Democrats, right? Yeah. And they made it so that people who were wealthy and uber rich can get away with stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, look at the top corporations who made billions and profit and didn't pay taxes.
Amazon don't pay taxes.
Amazon don't pay taxes. Google, all these corporations, they don't pay taxes. So it's not my thing is, Trump is not the problem. He's like a symptom of the bigger problem. The bigger problem is the corruption from both parties. You know what I mean? Like back then, back in 2012, I had like a very narrow mindset of politics. I thought, if we just voted, Democrats straight down the line, everything would be okay. Obama would save us. And, now looking back at it, like, 6 years, 8 years later, like, I realized that no one's coming to save us. We have to be our own saviors. We have to come together on the grassroots and make changes in our own community, because the Democrats and the Republicans are working together to basically fuck us over.
So speaking on that, Flint, Michigan, the water crisis that people like to talk about isn't something that happened by accident. It wasn't like a dam broke and now water is being done. Flint, Michigan switched from Detroit Systems water to the Flint River, which is why to save money. So it was to save tax dollars and to make sure that they could save money. And now the water has been contaminated because the Flint River is contaminated. So it wasn't like it was an accident or some Mother Nature had caused some problem where the water all of a sudden started changing. I completely agree with you that Obama should have done something, but Obama's just a scapegoat. We were talking about the grassroots approach and stuff like that. And I think if we vote at a grassroots level and continue to vote from there and up, we can then change how everyone sees things. But if we're just voting at a grassroots level to make sure that the things in Flint, Michigan don't happen to Lake Worth, and to make sure that wherever Lake Worth gets their water supply isn't from Pahokee or the Okeechobee River or something like that, that's great. But we are just a community within a state, within an entire country. So if we're not voting for the big changes, those big changes will trickle down into the small changes of our community, and it'll be too late for us, our next generation, or any other generation to make those changes. So voting is critical to making those kinds of changes.
And I agree with what you're saying. I think the main. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say I hear you, but how can you make those big changes when both sides are on the take? Both sides are crooked, and both sides watch out for each other. Like Obama could have held the politicians who switched the water over responsible, but he didn't. Like he gave them a pass and basically no one suffered any consequences for that. Children died, old people died because of this. Kids who are mildly affected will have to suffer with unknown like trauma and impossible brain disease from this, for years, and no one suffered any consequences. No one was punished. Obama had the entire White House. He had a Democratic attorney general. He had the House, the Senate. They could have pulled children out of their asses and basically gave those resources to the city and fixed the problem and made sure that the politicians responsible were punished, but nothing was done. How can we have big changes when all the sides, all of our choices are rigged? The entire thing is rigged. Like,
so I'm gonna rebuttal off that and freestyle a scenario for you. So kid gets bullied in a school. Kid goes to the school with a gun, shoots someone else. Right? Is it the principal's fault that the kid went into the school with a gun and shot someone else? Do we blame the principal for little Timmy who came in with the gun? Or do we blame Timmy because he's emotionally damaged? Do we blame the teachers because the teachers didn't see that the bullying was happening, or they just let it slide? Who do we blame? Who's at fault? Is it Timmy? Is it the teacher? Or is it the principal of the school?
My response to that would be a combination. It's all the above. It's the teacher's fault for not noticing that little Timmy was being bullied in the first place, and possibly intervening and doing something about it. It's the principal's fault for not managing the teachers well enough to say, hey, here's what a problem child looks like. Here's what bullying looks like. If we intervene in these certain steps, we can prevent a domino effect. You know what I mean? So I would blame the teachers. I would blame the principal. I would blame little Timmy's upbringing. His home life. Why couldn't he talk to his mom about this? And why couldn't they solve this through their words and actions? And their words instead of violent action. Why couldn't he talk to his dad? So I would blame those three. And then lastly, I'd blame little Timmy himself.
So if we compare little Timmy,
I think it's like, you can't just blame one person. I think it's the entire system.
Right. So if we compare little Timmy's situation to running for president and Obama and drinking water and then leaving, we can both agree that the school system is damaged and needs to be fixed, all the way down from little Timmy and his upbringing to the teacher. And we can agree that the president and America and the way America's system is broken, all the way down from the governor of Flint, Michigan to President Barack Obama, correct? Mm-hmm. What do we do to fix those things? Can we go to the local government in Flint, Michigan, and then just log in with our username and password and change how they're going to save money on their water supply? Are we able to do that? Can we vote for someone that understands what we need to change and how we need to change, or jump into the race ourselves and go about changing that so that we as the teacher can help Flint, Michigan, the student, and little Timmy, and then push forward to make sure we change the entire school system so that we make sure kids don't walk in with guns and other things like that. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I think with the Flint, Michigan scenario, it's very complex because you're dealing with a system. And you can't change a system by replacing one cog. You know what I mean? The governor of Flint, Michigan was just a cog, you know what I mean? In a bigger, a humongous, machine. And I feel like, in my opinion, it's almost a very hopeless feeling, because you're like, you see these problems, right? And you're trying to look for solutions. And you're saying, okay, maybe we can vote the solutions in. But in my opinion, from my personal experience, it's not that simple. It's like, how do you know the person you're voting for won't be corrupted by the system itself?
You're absolutely right. We have no idea. Today, the person can say, hey, we're going to put metal detectors in the school to make sure little Timmies don't come in with guns. And then the next day they could be lying and they could have bought a Maserati and left. So we have no idea. But not voting would be being a kid in the classroom watching little Timmy shoot somebody and then saying, wow, this shit's fucked up, this school's bad. And then coming to school the next day and pulling out my math books and just doing schoolwork again. How do we go about making change? I think the only way we go about making change is voting. The system's corrupt and it needs to be reset, but I think that's for another podcast and another episode. I just think the only thing we can do right now is vote and make sure that the people we vote for, we hold accountable.
And I agree. I agree with what you were saying.
Go ahead.
Let me just say, I agree with both of you guys are saying. It's a corrupt system. And Teddy, you are right when you say that we got to vote. But the only issue I have is all these things, like with Flint, Michigan, and different, like you were talking about Lake Worth or Flint, Michigan, where stuff would happen like bad cities. What's the common denominator? They happen in cities that it's like high percentage that Black people are living, or brown or Black people are living. It's like what Flint, Michigan is like close to what, almost 80% of Black and brown people living there. Lake Worth is basically 75% of brown and Black people living there. So what I mean by saying that, like we in West Palm, they're not doing that in Wellington, they're not doing it in Royal Palm, they're not doing it in Boca. You know what I'm saying? Even in California, LA, they're not doing it in Beverly Hills, they're not doing it in Brentwood. So it's up to the people in their city to take the election serious. The people in the local city, like in Flint, Michigan, okay, how about everybody like pick one candidate that they're backing? You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at these candidates, most of them are being backed by corporations. You know what I'm saying? How about the people put their money together? It's like, hey, we're gonna back this candidate. We're gonna try to get him in for 4 years. And I agree with you saying, Mac, that they corrupted. The candidates corrupted. How about we give a whole bunch of energy to them? Then the first time they show us they corrupted, we spend the next election. What do? We get their ass out and put another person in to show that, hey, no matter who you are, if you're not doing what we want you to do for us as a community, we're gonna get you out and in. And even the people that look like us, because if you think about it, all we doing is like some of us, we're like, okay, there's a Black person running for president, Black person running for local election, he gonna have a best interest. Just like with the Breonna Taylor situation, it was a Black district attorney, and what does he do? He screws the Black female over pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Just because, like what it say, just because all skin folk ain't cane folk. So just because it look like us, that don't mean they have our interest. So we as a community, as a local community, if everybody that lives in Flint, Michigan, work together for a local election in Flint, Michigan. Everybody that live in Lake Worth, everybody that live in Miami, work together and put the right people that's going to represent your community. And that's just my opinion about that.
When you're saying,
a great point.
Go ahead, Beast. Go ahead, Beast.
Y'all all make a great point. I'm just trying to figure out. I remember you just said in 2012 you had to basically you had to pick between both parties. That was your mindset in 2012. I'm trying to figure out, what did you do between 2012 to now to where you have that mindset? And the reason I say that is because I think most Americans and most people are just stuck as you were in 2012, to where we're dependent on the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. You know what I'm saying? I think you just broke it down to where a motherfucker can just go do their own research, you know what I'm saying? To where you was breaking it down to where you said the parties didn't affect, and we all agreed that the local elections do affect.
Well, let me address what Rob was saying real quick. You made a very good point. It's curious saying that we should come together and basically start a super PAC, and then basically pull our money and resources together, and then use that super PAC money to back a candidate, which sounds like a very good idea. And to answer what Beast was saying, basically, in 2012 I voted. I bought into the whole Democrats good, Republican bad myth, and that all you need to do is vote Democrat and everything will be okay. I bought into that myth. I voted in 2012. I voted in 2014. I voted in 2018. You know what I mean? So to me, I just got sick of the cycle. There's a saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. And I feel like, I've been doing the same thing over and over again for the past like 8 years. We're expecting different results, and like it wasn't happening. So I felt like, I started doing research to see, what's going on? Why no matter what happens, no matter who's in the office, why are things still the same and getting worse? So that's when I started, doing research, started researching different administrations and seeing, what happened under a Democratic administration, what happened under a Republican administration, what happened under a Democratic House or a Democratic Senate, what's happening? Why isn't change actually being, implemented in our system, in our society? Why are these things happening over and over again? So, doing that research and diving in, I begin to basically discover that, basically it's all one big party, and these people are not, they're not in it to help us. They're working for the people who are paying them, basically the oligarchs, the corporations, the billionaires, the Jeff Bezos of the world. They're the ones who are really running this country. You know what I mean? Whatever they want, they get. The pandemic hit, they needed some money. They said, hey, give us $3 trillion. And they said, okay, $3 trillion out of thin air, boom, just like that. They're not really, these politicians on a national level are not really in it to help us. That's what I've been discovering for the past 8 years. And it's very disheartening to discover that, because I feel like it feels very hopeless, because I feel like no matter who's in there, they're basically in there to fuck us over. And they're basically in there to help their friends get richer. And basically the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's what it seems to be the cycle. And that's why I've come to this mindset. I'm like, they're not really in it to help us. Maybe we could do something on the grassroots level. Maybe we can affect change locally, but change on a national, in my opinion, I feel like change on a national level is hopeless at this point, because it's a failed system, it's a failed state.
I hear you, and that's the problem that a lot of Black people, especially Black men, feel like. Because if you think about it, I seen somewhere that said like, from you say you voted in 2012. They said from 2012, and if you compare it to 2016, like I think 4 million like Black men stayed home and they did not vote compared to voting for Obama. And that's the issue is a lot of Black men, especially Black people, are just frustrated. We like, man, most of them agree with you basically said. Whoever's in power is going to be the same result. Because if you think about it, every race has got something out of the last two, presidency. You know what I'm saying? The gay people got something. The immigration with DACA got something. Like, what did, if you think about it, can name one thing that Black people got? We didn't get anything. And that's the thing, the Black people, we're so frustrated, we're so upset. And we're like, damn, at the end of the day, they're not taking us serious. But I think the reason why they're not taking us serious is we got to start taking our own self serious. So the same energy, like let's go to 2008 when Obama won presidency. That was the record setting of Black people voted. Let's use the same energy, vote for one official, and if they don't do it right, we're gonna vote for another one. So even if they're Republican, if we could go to a Republican and say, hey, Donald Trump is running. Look, we wanted something against Obama. He didn't give us. What are you going to give us? If you could give us that, okay, you can promise you're going to give us that. We're going to go vote for you. Bang. Even if he's a Republican, we're going to vote for him. Then if 2 or 3 years pass, he doesn't do anything for us. Okay, you didn't do it for us. We're not voting for you as a community. No one's voting for you. We're voting for a Democrat. I just think black people, we should not limit ourselves to just one party. We should have options. And even with the presidency, you might want to vote for a president, a Democratic president. But in local election, you can vote for a Republican, in the local election. I'm just saying, vote for someone that has your best interests. But as a community, let's just pick someone that can represent us. Let's not as a community go 3 different places. Let's just focus on that one person and say, hey, this is what we need for community. We need 3 things, 5 things. Are you going to be able to give it to us? We understand we're not going to get 100%, but can you give us at least 50%? Can you give us 60%? And just put that whole energy towards that person and give them a chance. If they screwed us over, bang, the next election, we're going to vote their ass out.
Well, voting is like dating. It's like you start dating European women and you don't like them, so you start dating Caribbean women. You don't like them, you start dating other things like that. But once you get married,
actually, I only date black women, so that's just my opinion.
So once you get married, that's like choosing Democrat or Republican. But just because you chose Democrat when you got married in 2012, and now in 2016, humans change, people change. Your Democratic person has changed. Instead of the only way to make that change and to speak up and say, hey, I've noticed these changes and I don't like them for the entirety of our marriage and our relationship. I'd like to make these changes and I think these would be better. You can't just, not vote. You've got to speak up. So voting would be like speaking up and telling the person you've married, hey, I see these changes and I want to make these changes. And if that doesn't work, you can divorce and remarry if you want to. But if you're not voting, then you're just in this trash marriage and you're like, there's no point to it. I've lost all hope. I'm in a loveless marriage. I don't know what to do and I don't really care. That's how I see it. I'm not saying you're either of you are wrong, but I think as a rebuttal, that's how I see it.
I agree with what you're saying. And if you really think about it, the Democrat Party has been taking black people for granted. Like I know in the 80s, my parents were voting, the 90s, with the early 2000s. Now we're in the 2020. Like the Democrat Party, if you really think about it, they took black people for granted. Like they basically, at some point, when are we going to wake up as a community and say, hey, like right now I'm an independent. Like I have no problem voting for a Republican if they have the best issues for me. I have no problem voting for Democrat. Like I'm not gonna like commit myself, and that's the problem. Like it's up to us, Generation Millennials and Generation Z, because you got our parents. Most of us, our parents, are gonna vote Democrat regardless. They're gonna vote Democrat regardless, and I don't understand that. We need to focus on who is gonna be the right fit for us. Let's not be loyal to a party. Just be loyal to a person until they screw us over, then we could switch.
But bro, this is my issue. My issue is from the age of what you can vote 18, from 18 to about 30, like we don't take voting serious, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And number one, that's why Generation Z, they love Bernie Sanders. That's why Bernie Sanders is not running for president. They didn't go vote, you know what I'm saying? But them old motherfuckers like Trump age, they support him. And that's why I'm trying to figure out, how do we entertain the younger crowd to inspire them to go vote? You know what I'm saying?
Man, like I seen something like earlier, like with the George Floyd. I think it was Shannon Sharp that said it. It was crazy. The sports show said it. He said something I thought was really funny. He said if we would get 50% of the people that's protested, register to vote, and go out and vote, we're gonna win the election. Because if you think about it, this is the first time I ever seen in my life. At almost every state, I remember I was watching like CNN. They had breaking news from Utah. I'm like, damn, Utah, you got black people voting for Utah? I didn't know black people live in Utah. Like every state in the United States, and not even every state. You had like countries like Canada. You had like London and the UK. We had Africa. Almost not only every state in the United States, but every city around the world, every country was like protesting. And if you think about it, as much energy that they spend protesting, if they could spend that small time, like just registering to vote and getting out and vote, hey, we could make a difference. And maybe this is the first time that it might not be our generation because we're millennials. It's probably going to be the Generation Z. But the only problem I have with this Generation Z is like all of them, 90% of them love Bernie Sanders. But why did Bernie Sanders did not pass? It's because they have stayed home. You know what I'm saying? As much as they love Bernie Sanders, they have
That's the
stayed
problem
home.
I just told you.
It's not just that, bro. Like, one of the reasons why Bernie lost is because the Democrats rigged the primaries against him.
I mean, you could say that, but the facts show that a lot of Generation Zs and millennials, they stayed home during the primary. True. They stayed home. And I'm like, how y'all going to run your mouth? That's y'all love Bernie, y'all for Bernie. Like, for example, I had like, people that I know, Generation Zs that I know, they like all the time, oh, we're not voting for Biden, it's Bernie Sanders. Bro, okay, the election comes, it passed. I'm like, well, did you go vote? Bro, I had to work. Did you go vote? I had to go do this. Did you go? I'm like, hold on, you just spent like a whole 3 months talking about Bernie this, and you could not go out and vote. And I told him, look, I went and vote, and it was in and out. I'm like, it was literally, you could use your 30-minute lunch break, or you could have just request like a day off, or you could have gone to early voting. Like, there's no excuses. I don't care who you are, unless if you're not in the hospital and you're physically ill, you can't move. There's no reason why you couldn't because I could speak on my state. I don't know how other states work, but we had early voting, and I went and voted during early voting during the primary. So there's no reason why you couldn't go vote. And when I went and vote, there was no long lines. It was in and out. So that's what I said. As much as Generation Z want to talk about who's their guy, but the problem, the issue is that y'all not going registering to vote or going in the polls and voting. So how valid is y'all opinion if y'all not gonna support y'all guy?
Hey, by the way, if you're in Florida, the mail ballots are starting to go out. I got mine in the mail already. So if you didn't get yours within a week or whatever, start looking online to see if you either registered or re-registered. Do what you got to do. But they already starting to do mail-in voting.
And the thing about the mail-in ballot, what I will say, I know I've been watching the news. Like, I guess there's something like either you got to get a witness or you got to find out which envelope you could put the voting ballot in for them to get counted. There's so much BS. The only thing I would say, tell people, look, y'all got time to go to the club. Y'all got time to the PlayStation 5, Xbox release was coming out. Y'all was going crazy online. Y'all had time to go buy the new Jordans. Just spend that time, even if you have the mail-in ballot, just go in there and just drop it off. That way they can verify, make sure everything is correct. That way your vote could count. And also, most of the states, I know for Florida, they always got early voting. You could figure a time and just go. Just spend one day, even if you're not going to work, just spend one day. Just say, okay, I'm going to just, even if it takes me 10 hours, I'm going to be in line for 10 hours just to go vote. I know y'all ain't going to do that, but I'm just saying that. But at the end of the day, y'all need to just take the voting serious, the process serious, because I want everybody vote to count. That's what I'm pretty much trying to say.
I've been trying to jump on this podcast to try to convince Mac to vote, because I know voting it's exhausting, hearing all the things. I was able to vote in 2012 and 2016, and I was lied to myself. I was told, there will be change, things will change and things will happen. I saw no change. I thought that Florida won the vote to make sure that Trump wouldn't get elected 4 years ago, and that still confused me. But I took the time to grab the knowledge, to gain the information like we're all doing and stuff like that. And I'm still going to continue to vote, because if I don't vote and I don't like the system, then I'm not doing anything about it. That's how I see it. And I'm not saying that's not what that's what you're doing or anything like that. But the only other option in not voting is to agree that this American system is corrupt and to just keep living with it, or to leave, like most people were saying. And there is no Wakanda for us to leave to right now. And my parents are Haitian. Do I want to go back to Haiti and say America sucks because the voting and everything else sucks and the way that these things sucks? Let me just go back.
No.
Exactly. So if I'm going to stay in America and stay in this marriage of America, I've got to continue to fight in this relationship I have with America to make it good enough for at least my future kids, or at least myself in the next few years. And voting is the only way I can do that.
And
listen, Ted, I hear you, Ted, but I haven't voted since 2008. And listen, this is my last time voting, bro. Listen, since 2008, ain't no president done shit for me. My life's been all right. Look, I'm voting this time. If Trump wins, listen, this shit is rigged. The system's fucked up. And I'm gonna be right there with Matt. Hey, maybe local elections for me, but you ain't never gonna find me doing this shit.
Listen. We all should go vote, and that's another thing too. I understand you saying the system is rigged. We all should go vote. And number one, think about it. This cannot be a close election. This has to be like when Obama won, it was a blowout. This has to be the same thing. Let this get close, and this is why it's important because of the Supreme Court justice. The seats are being filled. It might not affect you right now. If you're looking to have kids in the future, I suggest you guys wake up and start being woke in that position. I'll let y'all Google the facts, Google the knowledge about how important is the Supreme Court justice seat, because those seats are for life. It's not a 4-year seat, it's not an 8-year seat, it's a for life seat. So like I said, you could go, Mac, but I was just saying it cannot be a close election. Yeah, this gotta be a dominant. They gotta be like it gotta be the Lakers. It gotta be the Lakers versus
wait.
Oh, hey, you been disrespect. Hey, you
Don't bring that up.
It gotta be the Lakers versus Miami in the finals. Barbecue chicken dominate.
Hey, you been disrespectful, bro. Stop being disrespectful.
Don't do that to the Heat, yo.
Yeah,
Let me make this
one
point. Like
I mean, Lakers are 5.
Hey, before Mac, before you go, Miami Heat in 6.
Lakers in 5, man. We're gonna lose, bro. It's just I don't want to be swept, dog. Lakers in 5.
I wish.
That's another subject for another day. But what you were saying, Matt?
It's like watching the Heat versus Lakers is like watching two of my kids fight. But like I was saying, y'all still there? Yeah, I was saying that the thing with voting is though, like the Democrats have definitely taken us for granted. There's something called benign neglect. The Democratic Party has basically been purposely ignoring the Black people and the Black Black voters for generations now. Y'all heard me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
So basically, what they've been doing for the past 40 years, they've been basically they've been either not promising anything, or when they do promise something, basically flat out lie and not deliver on those promises. You were saying earlier that basically voting with a party is like a marriage, but my thing is I feel like it's a sham marriage, because the partner has no intention of actually loving us, or have no intention of actually being in a committed relationship. They're cheating on us with the corporations and billionaires and the oligarchs that really run the country. The thing with why I feel like voting doesn't work is because if let's say we vote Trump out and we have a blue wave and it's all Democrats, right? Then what? What's the next step? You know, because we've been down this road before. We've had a blue wave already, where the House, the Senate, and the presidency was all Democratic, and they had a super majority. And what did they do with that?
Nothing.
They didn't do anything except start more wars. They allocated more wealth to the wealthy, and they made the poor poorer, and they made the criminal justice system even worse. So It's like, you know, I hear your message of going to vote and why it's important, but I just feel like we're watching the same bad rerun. You know, take away Trump. Trump is basically the new Bush. He's the new Bush, and we're basically reliving the same events where we have to go vote against Bush because Bush is bad and Bush did Iraq. It's the same thing over and over again, except we have a stupider Bush in the office, a stupider, more racist Bush, and like we're reliving the movie where we're gonna go vote for Biden and he's gonna do all these great things for us. Wrong. The second he gets in there, he's going to do the same bullshit that Trump was doing, but he's going to do it with a nicer face. He's not going to, you know, seem as racist, while secretly he's going to be writing laws to fuck over Black people, Black men, you know, more specifically. That's my spill.
Yeah,
I get it, man.
Anyway, that's a great point, man. Hey, but shout out to my boy Ted, man. Showed out the Heat fitted hat, man, but we're gonna lose, man. We're gonna lose, dog.
Six.
Lakers in 5, man.
Hey, just like the Miami Heat, just because we're down 0-2 doesn't mean we can't do something about it. And the only thing we can do to fix this corrupt system is to vote. Just like Miami's going to keep shooting threes, we can miss 100 of them, but the ones that go in are critical. So we got to go out and vote. Just like Miami's going to go out and fight. Miami's not just saying, fuck it, I'm just going to sit here and let them win the next few games. We're going out and fighting.
I hear you, but I'm a realist. Lakers are 5.
Hey man, we're gonna wrap this up, man. We're gonna wrap this up, man. Like I said, everybody.
Before we do,
yeah.
To learn more about early voting in Florida, you can go to dos.myflorida.com/elections. It'll help you with finding out polls, early voting, where you can go, and all the other information and resources you need. Again, that is dos.myflorida.com/elections.
And if you don't vote, bro, I don't want to hear shit from you. Straight up, I don't want to hear shit.
So Matt, you got to get out and vote, man. We got until to register.
I might vote. We'll see.
Not vote, man. Hey, man. But man, I appreciate you guys for joining us, man. Big Zo podcast. Did you guys want to I don't know if you guys want to give a shout out your social media page, or if y'all don't, it's up to y'all.
I want to shout out Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I want to shout out Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Udonis Haslem. Heat and 6.
I need a hero.
Hey, we're gonna shout out Anthony Davis for doing his thing, man. Hey, Big Zo podcast, man. Holla at your boys, man. Follow us at every social media platform: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Podcast One. Holla at us, Instagram, Facebook. Big Zo's, we out. Miz on me, Miz on me.
Take your ass to vote, man. Take your ass to vote.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys. We about to get cut off, man, but appreciate you guys. We definitely got to do another one, maybe after the debate or something. All right,
Mac, it was good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Good meeting you, bro.
I'll be easy.
All right, guys. Later.
Good game.